Welcome and appreciate you joining us for today's webinar presentation titled Best Practices in Social Media with Marissa Barber of AdvoCap, Deb Zaski of CAP Services, Devin Lapina from the Community Action Coalition for South Central Wisconsin, Lexi Tintelman from the Community Action Inc. of Rock and Walworth Counties, and Sabrina Heighton of WISCAP. My name is Tom Banky, and I'm the Operations and Outreach Manager at WISCAP. This session will offer diverse perspectives from professionals working with community action agencies, media, and communications. You'll gain practical strategies on how to plan, create, and share impactful content while also learning how to capture your audience attention through analytics, engagement, and collaboration. Telling the story of community action is essential, and together we'll explore the most effective ways to share those stories with the world. Before we get started, though, I'd like to share some housekeeping notes. This session is being recorded and will be made available for playback on WISCAP's website following today's presentation. In addition to the recording, the presentation slides will also be made. We ask that you all be courteous to all attendees and remain on mute during the presentation. We also recommend using speaker view during the presentation as well. This presentation will utilize the Q&A and chat functions to foster audience participation. I will monitor those functions throughout the presentation and address them at the comments and questions as time allows during natural breaks together. Again, following this presentation, you'll be receiving a follow-up email with the links to access the recording, the session materials, as well as the survey link for you to leave any comments about today's session and what potential communications topics you would like to hear more about in the future. Lastly, I wanted to share a couple of upcoming training opportunities that WISCAP will be offering over the next couple of months. Coming up next week, WISCAP and WIFLE will be hosting our virtual OMB uniform guidance training, and those will take place in the afternoons of September 9th, 10th, and 11th. We will also be offering a virtual human resources roundtable series with Kimala Daniels. This is a 4-part series and the first session will take place on Thursday, September the 16th at noon. We will also be holding an in-person results-oriented management assessment training, which will be preceding our Poverty Matters conference on Tuesday, September the 30th at the Kalahari Resort in Wisconsin Dells. We will then go into our annual Poverty Matters conference taking place October 1st and 2nd at the Kalahari Resort. And lastly, we'll be holding a CSBG org standards training that will be provided by the National Community Action Partnership on October 22nd through the 23rd. And don't worry, we'll include all of this information in that follow-up email about these upcoming trainings, so no need to worry about that right now. At this point, right now, I'd welcome you all to relax, take a seat, and listen to our social media professionals. Lexi, take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lexi Tindelman, and I'm the Public Relations Manager at Community Action Inc. of Rock and Walworth Counties. I am honored today to be here with my fellow WISCAP colleagues to talk about best practices in social media and how we can use these tools to drive real impact within our communities. So to begin, I would like to say to create meaningful impact through social media, we do need more than just frequent posting, and we need real strategy. A well-crafted social media strategy helps us align our communication with our mission, reach the right people, and amplify voices within our community. In order to do that, I've aligned 3 different ways we can do so. One is to set goals. We can start by defining clear, measurable goals, and by doing so, we ask some questions. Are we trying to raise awareness? Are we trying to increase event attendance? Or are we trying to build relationships with donors? Different goals help us align what we're trying to do to make sure it's being tactful. Goals should not be only specific and tied to outcomes that we can always track. For example, instead of saying we're trying to increase engagement, we might want to ask, we're trying to grow Facebook interactions by 30% over 3 months. These goals help us guide our content and then help us elevate our success. Next is making sure that we can always identify audiences. So we should always understand our audience that we're trying to capture. Our followers aren't always a one size fits all. They include teens, parents, volunteers, and funders. Each group responds to different types, and they also respond to different types of content. Therefore, parents may engage with community updates and a lot of resources on Facebook. Teens might connect more with visuals such as stories of behind the scenes moments and on Instagram. And funders, are they individuals that are part of business professionals? Are they individuals that are connecting more on LinkedIn? Most of the time, they're probably connecting on LinkedIn. So they're looking for impact on data, leadership updates, and stories that show how we're moving the needle. Knowing our audience helps us tailor our tone, our visuals, and our messaging. That brings us to platform choice. So Facebook is probably a lot of our go-to community engagement and event promotion idealistics. Instagram probably helps a lot of us tell our visual stories, whether it's a snapshot from a youth program or a quote from an impact from a participation. But LinkedIn, that's where we can build a lot of our credibility. It's a space to highlight what our organization has for impact, share a thought, leadership, and connect with key stakeholders. Posting on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, it all helps us engage with donors, funders, partners, individuals in the community, and even potential hires who care about our mission. What's most important is that our agency is posting frequently and choosing the platforms where our audience is active and where our message can shine. All in all, when we set our goals and we understand our audience, we choose the right platforms, we can move from reactive posting to strategic communication. This is how we build trust, this is how we grow engagement, and this is how we create lasting impact in the communities that we serve. To leave with a quote, effective strategy transforms intention into measurable impact. And Tom, if you can please go to the next slide. So with that, consistency is key, especially in nonprofit communication. Thoughtful content planning helps us stay visible, relevant, and aligned with our mission, so without overwhelming anyone's team. When we plan ahead, we're not just posting, we're building relationships, reinforcing our values, and we're showing up for our community in meaningful ways. Therefore, it's always important to plan with a purpose. So start by mapping your content with your organization's calendar. And I'll get to that in a minute on how exactly you can map with a calendar. It's called a content calendar, which could be really resourceful and useful. Think about events, seasonal campaigns, awareness months, and program milestones. This ensures that posts and timely missions are driven, and planning with a purpose always allows us to be proactive, not just reactive. And that's when our messaging becomes truly impactful. Next is always utilizing tools for efficiency. That includes smart tools that make a big difference. Our agency, we use Canva to create a lot of the different professional visuals quickly and easily. Most importantly, using Meta Business Suite can help with scheduling posts across Facebook and Instagram, keeping messaging consistent and timely. Another really resourceful tool is Constant Contact. Constant Contact, if a lot of you or other agencies, it's not just for email. It also allows individuals to schedule and publish on social media platforms directly and specifically Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So you can customize each post for your platform, create images or videos, and even schedule content up to 2 years in advance. So these tools can help us stay organized, reduce last-minute stress, and maintain steady and presence online. Another one is making sure that templates are ready for consistency. So templates are an easy time saver and also really great brand builder. They help us maintain a constant look and also keeping tone across our platforms. Whether it is an event announcement, a testimonial, or an impact of an update, having a go-to template ensures that our content is recognizable, trustworthy, and aligned with our visual identity. Lastly, talking about building a rhythm. So we talked about platforms, how to keep consistent, and what we're doing with it. That's a rhythm that we're having. Whether you post daily, weekly, or monthly, consistency is what matters more than frequency. A predictable rhythm keeps your audience engaged and helps your team stay organized. It's okay to start small, and what matters most is showing up regularly with content that reflects your mission, your programs, and your people. And Tom, if you can please go to the next slide. To reiterate back, using the right tools is what's important. Smart tools can help us stay consistent, save time, and elevate our message. Canva, which is shown on the upper right-hand corner, helps us create branded professional graphics and lets us have on the bottom main screen, helps us have a professional graphics and a brand kit. So making sure that you have your logo, colors, and fonts. So any of your individuals out there that use Canva, making sure that you go into Canva and you go down to your brand that you can see on the bottom left-hand screen. Clicking that and creating your brand tool is highly efficient because it's going to be able to have your logo, colors, your fonts, and ensure that every post reflects your identity within your agency. Meta Business Suite, which is also shown here, allows us to schedule and manage Facebook and Instagram content efficiently. So it's going to be able to have that once you create a content calendar going on and managing and making sure that everything is running smoothly. But most importantly, what I want to cover with you guys is constant contact. This goes beyond email. It lets us schedule posts on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, helping us maintain a steady presence across all the platforms. We can use these tools to allow us to do things during our downtime while staying ahead and keeping our messaging aligned and impactful. So going in and making sure that we can go on all platforms, it allows us to schedule on, we can see what it would look like before we post and being able to utilize what it would see, how it would be driven, and what all the statistical impacts would be driven outlined, and making sure that it's consistent. And Tom, if you can please go to the next slide. With that, it is important to have templates in mind. As mentioned before on the previous screen, using that logo is important through Canva. So templates are essential for maintaining brand consistency and saving time. By using your organization's colors, fonts, and logo in every post, you reinforce your identity and build your trust. Pairing that with a consistent tone, whether it's hopeful, empowering, or informative, and your audience begins to recognize and connect with your message. Don't forget to tag partners, funders, and community members when relevant. As you can see on the main left side, having a elongated post is okay when you have a lot of individuals to include in. Say you do a partnered event as we did recently with the city. We want to include the city, you want to include all of the different organizations we partnered with. So all the individuals you see in blue, those are the individuals you're tagging with. It increases engagement. We stay on brand consistency on all the other posts, having all the hashtags, including all the different varieties and posts is important. But the main one is that when you go to a page and you see the vibrant orange with our community action agency, they're seeing that orange, they're seeing the color, they're seeing the logo, they're seeing our brand. So don't forget to tag, don't forget to stay relevant. Strategic tagging boosts visibility, encourages engagement, and helps expand your reach organically. And Tom, if you could please go to the next slide. One last thing I really wanted to touch base on is a content calendar. Now this is a lifesaver, I would like to say. Making sure that you stay consistent. Consistency is key. The content calendar is one of the most effective tools for staying organized and intentional with your social media strategy. It helps you plan ahead, maintain consistency, and ensure your messaging aligns with the agency's mission and programming. For organizations with multiple programs or pages like ours at Community Action Inc. of Rock and Walworth Counties, it's especially helpful to create separate calendars for each page. We have a multiplicity of pages for all of our different programs that we have, and this allows us to tailor our content to each audience and avoid the overlap of our missed opportunities. So creating different content calendars, specifically I use Word, and you can see that we have a date, a topic, the content, and then a visual. So having all of those different ones lined up helps us maintain the programs, maintain the content, and the relevancy. So incorporating national holidays is also what can be highly effective and important. Holidays and awareness days into your content calendar can spark engagement and highlight relevant themes. These dates offer natural opportunities to connect with your mission to broader conversations, whether it's National Volunteer Week, Mental Health Awareness Month, or World Health Day. Planning ahead lets you create thoughtful, timely posts that resonate. Don't forget to include local events and partner activities. If a fellow agency is hosting an event you're attending, cross-promote it. Tagging them in your posts not only boosts engagement, but also strengthens your collaborative presence in the community. These shared moments build visibility and trust. So staying on top of anything that you know of beforehand, being able to pop it into your content calendar can help you stay on top of that as well. By using a content calendar, you move from reactive posting to proactive storytelling. You stay on task, reduce last minute stress, and ensure your social media reflects the full scope of your agency's impact. And Tom, if you can please move to the last slide of mine. As for this last slide, I wanted to talk about all of the things that you can do with social media that relates to storytelling. Social media is more than just a broadcast tool. It's a storytelling platform. And for nonprofits like ours, storytelling is one of our most powerful tools. When we share authentic stories, we don't just inform, we connect. We build trust, we inspire action, and we show real human impact of our work. Effective storytelling starts with people. We highlight individuals, clients, volunteers, staff, and share their journeys. We focus on transformation. We challenge, what did they face? How did they help our organization? What did they change? And we also show what the emotion is that's key. A compelling story answers the question, what does this matter to our community? And that's what makes people stop scrolling and start caring. Success stories are proof that our programs work, whether it's teens who gain confidence at the summer camp or families who found stability through the housing support. These stories help make our mission tangible and not just feel-good moments. They're evidence of impact, and when we share them, we give audience a real reason to believe in what we do. So having our community voices are really important, making sure that we have our community speak for itself, sharing quotes, testimonials, user engagement, generated content, and having them speak for themselves to translate in our posts, make them feel seen, and they're also more likely to engage, comment, and share. It's not just from telling our story, it's about amplifying their voices. And that's how we build a sense of belonging and shared purposes. So going out into the community, asking individuals how they feel about your agency and sharing that out. Always get a signed media release form, always making sure that they're okay with sharing that content. But it is important to share not only what individuals internally are feeling about your agency, but externally sharing that can increase engagement, especially in social media platforms. To end with you guys, storytelling isn't just about content, it is about connection. Every post is an opportunity to invite someone into our mission. And when we tell real stories with heart and honesty, we don't just raise awareness, we build a movement. And that's how we turn followers into advocates, engagement, and lasting impact. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Lexi. That was very informative. Some of the stuff I'll be talking about today, we'll kind of go into what Lexi was sharing about building that, social media calendar, building social media strategy. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Devin Lopina. I've been with Community Action Coalition for South Central Wisconsin for about 2.5 years as the communications specialist here. I've been doing things with website design. I've been doing stuff with social media, blog posting, and just really kind of getting our image out there. So I know we use a social media strategy to help us with that plan. So it's very helpful for me to have one of those. So thank you, Lexi, for sharing all the information. Today I want to talk to you guys about leveraging social media and AI to help, hasten your use with social media and also reaching the target audiences quicker and more effectively. I'll also be touching on personas. So personas are kind of tied into using AI tools. So we'll talk about that a bit. Before I dig in, I just want to see like a show of hands, maybe like a thumbs up in the chat. If you guys are using AI here currently with your social media, or if you're using social media and AI, just throw a thumbs up here or react up. So I'm not telling you guys the stuff you already know. All right, we got Kristen, okay. Aileen and Lexi, okay. Great. Yeah, it's all over the news. It's everywhere right now. So AI is very popular, obviously. It has, some negative connotations, some stigmas behind it. But I mean, in all honesty, people are using it at every level of the business world here. So it's for nonprofits, it only makes sense that we use something like this to help us leverage and reach out. I feel the work that we're doing is more, cause to have AI for this reason, just because we're really doing the great work, helping people out. It's really going to help leverage and save you guys time and build as much capacity as you can with getting information out there to those who need to hear about it. Also, it's one of those things that you can just really help create items, create social media posts and content without having to be bogged down with always having to think about how to rewrite something. It works really well as a co-pilot in a lot of cases where you're having it on the side to help you rewrite something or reformat something for a different post. So for instance, if you're working with, as Lexi said, using LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, it's a lot easier to use like a tool where you can take a snippet from your newsletter, break it down, and then ask AI to do something like create 3 separate posts for each target audience in those 3 different social media campaigns. One of the things you can really help with promote and use AI for is building your brand's voice and adding your values to it. A lot of these large language models, you can train it to be part of what you wanted to say, have it be your brand's voice, and that way you're staying consistent with your target audience. You're really able to say what you want to say and have it be consistent after post. More about best practices. You can also make batch content to save a lot of time. This is like asking it to create like 3 posts for the month. If you're building a strategy, communication strategy for the year, you can really go in there and just start asking it to look at the month of August and say, hey, we're going to be doing a campaign for a fundraiser coming up here. Can you help with creating a plan for the next month here to help promote it? And that way you can add it to your calendar there. All right. There are 4 AI tools I use mostly for the most part. Canva, as Lexi noted, has its own AI tool where it works with building your brand's voice. So if you're in that page where you have the building a brand and voice, you can actually use that to incorporate the AI in Canva to help you create content. ChatGPT is another large one that's being popularly used. Microsoft or Gemini both have their own AI bots that you can use. I think Copilot's almost automatically like installed on all Microsoft computers, so it's very readily available for people to use. And then Google Gemini is also another free option out there for nonprofits to use as well. All right, if you move to the next slide here, please. So how I use AI here is, like I said before, creating batch content is super helpful. You can create batch donations. So if you have like a large amount of people who have donations, or if you're having a lot of like emails go out, you can help with getting that written up within your brand's voice there. I mentioned also using your newsletter. So if you have like a large newsletter, you want to break up into smaller posts across your social media. I like to use that. So I already have something typed up, and now I can put it into my large language model and break it down into different social media posts. Another way to do it is using your personas, which I'll get into in just a sec here, to kind of help grade your content in your post to help reach those target audience members and see how they react. And then also, if you're having trouble with writing press releases in a timely manner, someone who didn't have like a large background in writing press releases, it was very helpful for me to kind of like read about how to like learn how to write press releases first, and then also have something like a large language model help me write those up quicker and get those out to get drafted quicker. As far as do's and don'ts go, obviously you always want to double check the work. So never just create something and post it out there without double looking and double checking everything. Never use clients' information that you give to a large language model will be shared. So it is part of like a larger network. So I always try to avoid using personal data in there. But otherwise, it's generally safe to use and very beneficial for nonprofits here. Okay, so I talked about personas. So I want to go to the next slide here and kind of go into what a persona is. So a persona is a fictional profile based on real data about your audience. These are different personas you create for who you're reaching in your social media campaigns here. So it helps tailor content, messaging, and channel strategy to who you're trying to reach. We have three large ones that we use, or three main personas we use at our organization. We have a donor, so we call her Donor Donna. We have volunteers to reach out to, Volunteer Victor. And then we have community partners or community clients that we call community client Carla. So each of these have their own like unique bios behind them. They are almost real people, like in a way that AI could use it to like react to seeing a post on Facebook and how they might like respond or how they might interpret a post. Each of these have like their own bios as far as like what they do for work, where they live, what their demographic information is as far as like household income, household sizes, just to help kind of deliver the messaging. You can go to the next post here or next slide here. Building personas is going to be very beneficial for getting like information on your Facebook here. So how I usually do it is I'll have three personas, and then I will post or create a post that I will give to a large language model or AI, and I'll say, okay, let's see how Donor Donna reacts to this. So they have that persona built in that bio, and then the large language model will give like a grading on how like you could better reach that target audience. So reach your donors, or if you want to reach your volunteers, you can have the large language model react to that. Personas can be found on multiple like tools. I know Lexi had mentioned Constant Contact. There are personas built into Constant Contact or persona tools that you can use to create your own. I use a platform called Lightful. Lightful is similar to Constant Contact, where it has access to different social media platforms and building out personas to help react to your content. Another thing that personas are allowed to do is match your tone to your content. So if you're trying to get like donors to react to stories, you can have it give like a report card kind of how you're posting. Same thing goes for volunteers, clients. Really useful tool here. So was there? Oh, okay. There's a question for a second. But yeah, I will answer any questions later on here for how to use personas. But it's definitely something that's going to help with nonprofits here building our target audience and reaching those target audience in our social media. Thank you.
And thanks, Devin, and thanks, Lexi, and thanks, WISCAP, for having us. I'm Marissa. I manage communications at AdvoCap in Fond du Lac. And today I'm going to talk pretty high level, but about analytics in social media and also community engagement. So kind of just starting with analytics basics is what do you see? So in the platforms that we're using, which a lot of people are using Meta, like Lexi was chatting about, so you're seeing interactions and behaviors. So likes, comments, shares, clicks, video views, etc. Also in the analytics on those platforms, we're getting demographic information like age, gender, location to go along with those audience behaviors to kind of better understand who is in our audience, and kind of like what Devin was saying, informing those ideal personas that we're trying to target. And trends over time. So patterns and engagement across weeks, months, or seasons. I like to look at quarter to quarter from the previous year, or even Head Start, we've got our school enrollment time. So looking at last year compared to this year. And then you'll also get insights in terms of what is more effective. So is it photos, videos, texts, etc.? So you're going to get that from the analytics in those platforms. And then you can also use benchmark comparisons. So compare your current performance with your past campaigns that may have been similar, and then also industry standards. So sometimes like in Meta, that could be comparing to nonprofits, or in LinkedIn, you can set up competitors that you can compare your performance across those platforms. And then for accessing analytics, a lot of these platforms are free or they're free for nonprofits. And you can use like Meta, like built-in insights, Meta and LinkedIn, which is what we use. Google Analytics is free. It has a lot of great information set up through your website. You can use their campaign URL builder, Hootsuite or Buffer, or Constant Contact, as was shared earlier. So lots of different tools for analytics. And next slide, please. And so why do analytics matter? You want to understand if you're actually doing what you want to do. So you're measuring the effectiveness instead of just putting it out there and kind of being like, well, we got a few likes and that's what we were hoping for. But you want to go deeper than that. And also, if you don't get those likes, you're understanding what's not working. So that really helps with effectiveness. This helps you make informed decisions. So you're making decisions based on data. You're not using assumptions. It is really hard to argue with the data. And you're boosting engagement. You can identify that successful content and replicate it. So you can get more engagement with your pages, with your brand, with your channels. And as Lexi was sharing, refine your strategy. So you have this strategy, but it's constantly evolving. And you want to make sure that it's evolving based on data and what the data is telling you, not just evolving based on where you think it should go. And very importantly, it helps you demonstrate impact. You can provide proof of results to leadership and funders. I know when report season comes around, it's really helpful that we've got these analytics already in here that we can share and put into those reports and really base our impact in data. And then continuous improvement. So you can monitor changes over time to optimize your campaigns, learn from past results, and keep improving. As we know, social media changes, the environment changes, so we need to keep changing those strategies and keep evolving to what is most relevant and topical at the time. And next slide, please. All right, and ways to use it. So the key is, as Lexi also mentioned, before tracking analytics, you need to know what your goals are so that when you look at the analytics, you need to make sure that they are working toward those goals. You're not just tracking analytics to track them. So choose 2 or 3 metrics that matter the most to your goals, whether that's engagement rate or reach or conversion. So you might have donors or an event that you want to be selling tickets or bringing in donations. So just making sure that you have metrics to measure against. And review trends. Analyze the post types, the times of day, and seasonal patterns to figure out what works for you and what works for your audience. Compare campaigns. So if you did a campaign around a big year-end fundraiser last year and you've got one coming up, look at those results together to compare kind of more apples to apples rather than apples to oranges. And use templates. As Lexi said, templates are amazing. So you can get free analytics templates from HubSpot, Hootsuite, or Buffer. Or what I like to do, I have a custom spreadsheet that really records a robust amount of content so that it's applicable for us. So it's what works for you, the way that you digest it, and how you can present it to leadership, funders, your coworkers, etc. And then adjust your content strategy. Again, it's great to know what the analytics are, but you need to make sure that you know what that content's working. So make sure you're doing more of that content. And then also act on those insights by implementing the changes and test new approaches. If video was working, maybe try longer form video, see how that does. Or maybe even go to just quick little 1-second snips that are all put together and just see. It's really fun to test, and analytics give us that freedom to be able to test. All right, next slide, please. And engagement on social media is so important. So it's really meaningful if this is a two-way street. You're not just putting out information and saying, what are people thinking about what I'm doing? What are they reacting to what I'm doing? How are you thinking about what other people are doing? How are you thinking about or reacting to what they're doing. So that two-way conversation, with the storytelling also, as Lexi mentioned, highlighting program outcomes and participant experiences to kind of bring more of that emotion into it. And then you're putting out emotion and you're getting emotion back. So that two-way again. Partner collaboration, working with other organizations to expand reach and strengthen your credibility. You know, we're all in this together. We do so much of this important work and we all work so hard. So let's keep those connections alive online too. Engagement tools that you can use posts, comments, shares to interact directly, and responsiveness. Whether it's a direct message, it's a comment on your post, even if it's negative, responsiveness shows that you are engaged and you care about what the audience is saying and what they care about. And then audience awareness. If you're out there engaging with what other people are engaging with, you're kind of getting to better understand your audience and seeing this is relevant. Let's do more of this too. Next slide, please. And why does it count? And kind of similar, but relationship building. You're strengthening your connections. You're showing that you care about the work that others are doing and you care about what other people are doing just as much as you want them to care about what you're doing. Expanded reach. When partners share your content, you're reaching their audiences. Those are new people that maybe haven't seen what you're doing. It encourages participation. So engaged audiences are more likely to volunteer or donate or participate. Community creation. You're now creating your own community around your organization online because you are part of it. It's not just putting it out. You're having people come and you're interacting with them. And then along those same lines, the human connection. We're humans behind these pages, and I think people really like to be reminded of that, and they like to see that. And then also just the mutual support. Again, you know, you're in it, you're working hard, I'm working hard. I want to acknowledge your work and how awesome it is, and I do that through social media. And next slide, please. And just a few ways to increase engagement. So sharing partner content. You can amplify posts to increase their reach. So just have a feed that's set up with whether it's other community action agencies, other nonprofits in your community, businesses that support nonprofits. Just go through that feed maybe once a day if possible, a few times a week, and like things, share things that are relevant to your audience. Show that you're part of this community that we're all in. Create social media kits. So you can put together a few pages of graphics and sample posts so that partners can just easily put that into their post and share away. And it makes everything a lot easier for everyone. So highlight the stories. The storytelling is huge. Spark dialogue, ask questions, invite comments, encourage discussion on your pages and other people's pages. Join community groups as your page, post in community groups. Interact with other organizations. Like I was saying, follow, like, comment, and celebrate what other organizations are doing. And then again, to tie in, use analytics. See how this engagement is working for you or maybe isn't, and make some tweaks based on that. But in general, just engage and show that you care about the community as much as you want them to care about you. And thank you. And sorry to go fast, but that's it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Deb Zasky with CAP Services, and we've gotten a lot of great information from Devin, Marissa, and Lexi so far, and I'm sure there's more to come from Sabrina. I'm talking about plain language, and first we're going to cover the key principles. But plain language means writing in a way that's easy for your audience to understand it, to find it, and to use the information. Using simple, direct language, shorter sentences or paragraphs, and active voice and clear calls to action. It includes knowing your audience, putting the most important information first, and industry language, and breaking it up with visuals and bullet points, things like that. The key principles, knowing your audience. One example I had of that is my daughter also does some social media working at a library, and she will sometimes share a post and ask what I think. There was one, and I said, oh, and for this, I would change this word. And then after I thought about it a little bit, I sent it back and I said, you know what? Leave the word, because I would change it for my audience, but your audience would it's probably more beneficial for them to hear it that way. So sometimes it's just really working with your audience and not just completely general. And you want to focus on the user. Make sure you use you, really bring them into the post so they can see themselves as part of it. Keep it simple. You don't use complex languages. Keep out extra words. And then make sure you prioritize the information so that you have the call to action early on. You don't want that always to be at the end. You want it to be early so people can do what they need to do quickly. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, and then we are talking about writing and formatting style tips. And this kind of has all of it in there. I like to speak in conversational tone because that's how people generally read it, is they want to read it like if they were having a conversation with you. So make sure the sentences are clear, short. Like I said, bring in the you. And if you need to break up the text, having a header in social media, just like a one-liner, is always great to tell them what it's about. And then you can use bullet points if you have an extended list. And make sure you use visuals and always explain your acronyms. Especially in our industry, I think there are many acronyms we have, and always make sure you put what it is and then in parentheses put the acronym so you can use it later in the same post and you don't always have to spell everything out. And then next slide, please. And why does plain language matter? Well, it increases your accessibility because then you're sure everyone can understand it, not just a few. And you will hopefully get better engagement. And it's with the world's shorter attention spans, especially on social media, you need to get them to act quickly. A few other things that I like to go over is trying not to use negatives. Instead of saying, don't forget to do something, I like to try and use remember to do this. Because I don't want anything in there that will make people think of a negative connotation. And then if there are some words you don't really need, I would say keep them out. Try and keep it as short as positive as possible. Things like really or very, like instead of saying very big, you could use the word huge. Instead of words like problem, you could use challenge or issue. And focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. Next slide, please. And then I'm talking about developing clear brand guidelines with the style guide. I'm assuming most people probably have one. But if you don't, it's really important that you create one. Ours is quite extensive for our staff, but for other community partners, it's much shorter. Of course, you need to define your brand identity, which is your mission and values, your vision, your brand story, and your target audience. And then your brand's logo. And you always want to include that with the colors that you use. And always remember, if you are using PMS colors to include CMYK because other partners may not always be printing in PMS. So it's good to have a breakdown for them of what the CMYK colors are as well. And then that's part of your color palette. Sometimes it's the logos and beyond. We have a main color palette, and then we have a secondary, which is always good to have for extra colors you want to use. And then your typography, make sure you know your fonts. And it's good to keep to them as much as possible, although there are variations where sometimes you want to do something a little different and make it either more fun or a little more serious. And that's okay. It's okay to do something a little bit different as long as you're still being true to your brand. And then, of course, imagery guidelines, whether it be photos, and if people need to have signatures for those photos, make sure that's always understood with your staff. And make sure when you are dealing with partners that you do use these usage guidelines so that they kind of have an idea of what they should and should not use. And then make sure it's always a changing document, that you want to always keep it up to date. And thank you very much. And if you have any questions, you can type them in at the end.
Hi, my name is Sabrina Heighton. I am the Communications and Training Specialist here at WISCAP. Now after hearing everyone's take on how to create a story through social media platforms, I went through a few of our CAP agencies' social medias to pick out a few examples to share. The first example is Cooley Cap, who posted a testimonial from a weatherization program participant. This demonstrates success towards one of Cooley Cap's programs. The second example is Community Action Inc., a photo of Lexi and her team at Blackhawk Technical College, sharing details about their skills enhancement program. Photos of staff really show our audience team involvement and community engagement. The third example is one of my own, which is a monthly agency spotlight I started when coming on to WISCAP at the beginning of the year. There's no better way than telling people who we are by giving an easy graphic once a month of each agency that provides what programs they offer, their mission, and a direct quote from the executive director or CEO. The fourth example is from Community Action Coalition of South Central Wisconsin that not only recognizes the participants, community, or agency, but the staff who make this work happen. Now, after you create your content calendar, create a design, come up with a creative caption, and use all of our tips and tricks we gave you today, what do we do after? Do what you can to attract attention to your content. Repost your post to your story, tag anyone that may be involved in the post, at your followers in the comments so they don't miss out on the post. This will send them a direct notification, and add to more platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, all the platforms. Now promote your post. Turn this post into an advertisement. You can boost this post through Facebook and Instagram. Reshare the post again in the future. I usually try to wait a week to do that. Then foster audience engagement. Engage with anybody who comments or reshares by commenting back, reacting to their comment, anything to keep that engagement. The last is track performance metrics. Go back to Marissa's slides for the tools for tracking and key metrics. And when you make your post into an ad or decide to boost, you can also use metrics from there. And thank you.
Great information. Thank you very much. We're running right on time. There are a couple questions with regards to the presentations that were shared in the chat function. Feel free to provide some more. We've got about 8 minutes left before our time is up. So feel free to leave those there. There was one question with regards to this presentation. It's great information. Looking forward to see if we can share that with you all. Yes, we'll definitely share that with you all. It's going to be housed on our website. We're going to follow up with an email that's going to have a link to where you can access the recording as well as the presentation slides about that. There was also a question, more of a comment really than with regards to AI, very useful tool, but also wanting to keep in mind some of the environmental impacts. AI is a strong force, but it uses a lot of energy and things like that. So there's a little bit of confliction between, how to use it, but also being mindful of the environmental impacts on that. Would the panelists like to chip in on that at all?
Hey, Tom. Yeah, I did see comment there from Brenda. I think that's really important comment, and it's definitely something we need to consider with new technologies like this coming out. I don't have all the insights on it. I don't have all the statistics, so I can't say 100% to what effect it has on our environment. But it is definitely something we should definitely consider moving forward. As someone who recycles constantly and is always mindful of washing out my condiments containers before I recycle them, I am one to definitely care about stuff like this. So I've done my research, and in finding my research, it's every prompt you do in like a large language model probably produces about like 2 to 4 grams of CO2 emissions, whereas driving a car is about like 40 grams per mile. So it's very like it's definitely something to consider. But yeah, do the research. I think if you can feel good about doing it, like if it saves you a trip to drive somewhere or saves you an email to send up like a attachment, it's pretty negligible. But again, that's something that you should follow with your beliefs. So thank you for that comment, though.
Yeah, it's a pretty new technology. We're still all learning everything about it too, but that definitely doesn't, we don't want that to be lost on anything as well. We do have another question that came in asking, are there any good resources out there regarding plain language and or active voice? This audience members mentioned that they struggle with that in the work sometimes. So are there any resources out there for plain language or active voice?
You can find some online by just Googling it, but the literacy, if you have a literacy council in your area, they usually have really good information that you can get it from. Another source is using AI. You can put it in and ask them to make it a little more clear or a little easier to understand, things like that. One thing we have been doing is also creating our own plain language file. So for certain words, if you want to use something else, we're trying to make it so it's more of a standard in our organization. And we have an access team that takes care of that. So that's always something you could do as well.
I will also use this opportunity to mention that we have a plain language session that's coming up at our Poverty Matters conference coming up in October. So there's going to be some great information on that as well. So maybe want to make that plug too for our upcoming Poverty Matters conference as well. We also received another question stating that we struggle with wanting to show we are engaging with the community, but keeping people's identities hidden. This individual is with DHS in Eau Claire, and some of their employees or clients wouldn't want to be seen in a public platform. Is there any strategies to handle that at all?
Sorry, Sabrina.
No, you can go. That's okay.
And I know it will depend on that client's preference. But we do have our photo release forms. We kind of have one that's like, you're okay with your image, your story being used on social media, on the website, etc. But then there's also another section that basically is like, I don't want my photo or my name, but I'm comfortable with my story being shared. And so what we'll do then is make sure that we share with them kind of the elements that we will be sharing and kind of like a quote kind of graphic or just the text of a post. But then that it's not anything that's identifiable or could really be attributed to them. But that's just something that we have done is just and really getting it in writing too, so that even the rest of your team knows, don't use their photo, please don't use their name when sharing these things, but they're okay with this short story being shared about their experience.
Yeah, great insight, Marissa. I would also add, when we don't usually get pictures of our clients because for reasons they don't want to be in, the public eye for either low income or struggling to find resources. So we try to respect their privacy. What we can do in lieu of that is we like to use stock images of people to kind of go with the story. That's how we usually do it. That way it's keeping the privacy, but also telling the story and kind of capturing that story at the same time.
Great. The feel free to enter any more. We'll have last call. We're up against the top of the hour here. I'll wait for those to come in, but in the meantime, just want to thank the panelists. Thank all of you all in the audience for taking time out of your busy schedules. Hopefully you were snacking on some lunch during this presentation, so you didn't have to skip lunch for that, but just appreciated that. So just want to conclude with that. As I mentioned at the top, this session was recorded and will be made available on our website following the presentation. In addition to the recording, the presentation slides will also be made available. And then look out for an email in the next day or so, definitely by the end of the week, with an email that will have links to all of the presentations, the audio recording, as well as maybe we'll throw in some contact information for the individuals on the panel if you want to reach out to them individually to ask them a question. Also a survey. We want to see how things went. We want to see what additional topics you want to hear about communications. So be on the lookout for that. I had also mentioned a bunch of trainings that are going to be taking place in the next month and a half that WISCAP is providing. We're going to have more information on those as well. So just wanted to thank everybody again. Thanks for your time and effort in putting this all together. Really appreciate everything you all do. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Sam. Bye.